The knock on my door came at 6:12 in the morning. Not a normal knock, the kind that makes your heart jump before you're even fully awake. 3 loud hits. Bang, bang, bang. I stumbled out of bed, confused and half asleep. Nobody visits that early. When I opened the door, 2 police officers were standing there. One of them looked down at a small notebook. Then he looked back up at me. "Are you Daniel Mercer?" My stomach tightened. "Yes," the officer nodded. "We need to ask you a few questions." I remember thinking this had to be a mistake. I don't break laws. I barely even leave my apartment. "What's this about?" I asked. The second officer spoke this time. "A woman named Emily Carter is missing." The name hit me like a punch to the chest. Emily Carter, the girl I met last night. The officers asked if they could come inside. I stepped aside without thinking. They walked in slowly, scanning the room like they expected to find something. "When was the last time you saw Emily?" one of them asked. "Last night," I said. "Where?" "At a bar downtown." The officer nodded. "That matches what we've been told." Then he said the words that made my blood run cold. "You're the last person who was seen with her." I replayed the night in my head. I had gone out after work. Nothing special, just drinks. Emily was sitting at the end of the bar. She looked nervous, like she kept checking the door. Eventually, we started talking. She told me she had just moved to the city. Said she didn't know anyone yet. She seemed scared, not drunk, not reckless, just uneasy. At one point, she leaned closer and whispered something strange. "I think someone is following me." I asked what she meant. She nodded toward the far corner of the bar. There was a man sitting there, completely still, watching us. He hadn't touched his drink, hadn't looked away once. At the time, I thought Emily was just paranoid. But when I glanced back at the corner a few minutes later, the man was gone. Emily asked if I could walk her home. She said her apartment was only a few blocks away. I agreed. The streets were quiet, cold air, streetlights flickering. Emily kept looking over her shoulder the entire walk. Then she said something that still haunts me. "If anything happens to me tonight, promise you'll remember my face." I laughed nervously. "Nothing's going to happen," I told her. I wish I hadn't said that. We reached her apartment building around midnight. There was a narrow alley beside it. Emily suddenly stopped walking. Her hand gripped my arm. "Do you hear that?" she whispered. I listened. At first, nothing. Then footsteps, coming from the alley. Slow, deliberate. Someone stepped into the light, and my heart nearly stopped. It was the man from the bar. He looked exactly the same. Same dark jacket, same pale expression, but something about him felt wrong, like he didn't belong there. Emily froze. The man stared directly at her. Then he smiled. A slow, thin smile that made my skin crawl. "Emily," he said quietly, "you shouldn't have left." Emily grabbed my hand. "Run," she whispered. We ran down the street. I looked back once. The man wasn't chasing us. He was just standing there, watching, smiling. Eventually, Emily stopped in front of her building. "Thank you," she said, breathless. "You should go home." "Are you sure?" I asked. She nodded. "I'll be fine." Those were the last words she ever said to me. Back in my apartment, the police sat across from me. "Did you see anyone suspicious last night?" the officer asked. I told them about the man in the alley. They exchanged a quick glance. "Can you describe him?" I did my best. tall, pale, dark jacket, thin smile. The officer slowly closed his notebook. Then he said something that made the room feel 10 degrees colder. "We've heard that description before." The officer pulled out his phone. He turned the screen toward me. A photograph filled the display. My stomach dropped. It was him. The same man from the bar. The same man from the alley. "Do you recognize him?" the officer asked. I nodded slowly. "Yes, that's him." The officer's face darkened. "That's impossible." "Why?" I asked. The officer took a slow breath. "Because this man died 20 years ago. The police eventually left. They said they'd be in touch. But they never found Emily. No witnesses, no body, no clues. Just one strange detail. Security cameras near her apartment caught a brief glimpse of someone entering the alley that night. 2 figures, Emily and a man walking behind her. The man's face was blurry, but his posture, his walk, it was the same, and sometimes late at night. I swear I see someone standing across the street from my apartment, watching my window, smiling, like he's waiting. Because if the police were right, if that man really died 20 years ago, then the person who took Emily that night was never alive to begin with.